Okay, my guest obviously doesn't need much of an introduction, but he's going to get one. And it's really hard to overstate his contribution to popular music. I mean, here's a guy who co-produced Michael Jackson's 32 million selling Dangerous album. He's the co-founder of two multi-platinum groups, Guy and Blackstreet, in addition to all the other writing and producing he's done for huge, iconic artists over the years. And the bottom line is he's one of the most successful and prolific R&B producers of all time. Please give a warm welcome to the legendary Teddy Riley.
Working with Michael was such an incredible experience and inspiration at the same time. But learning so much, working with such a pioneer and pioneer engineers that worked along with him, like Bruce Swedien and Billy Petrell and Brad. A lot of the engineers that worked with him, I learned from. So it's like going to school and taking lessons. So when I worked on that album, I came in with the music and with the idea to really take him back to New Jack Swing and the style of funk and, you know, just things that he got away from. So working on the Dangerous album was such a long process because we work on one song for about a month to get it right, and you know, sonically, that was Michael's concern about how it sounds when it hits the streets, when it hits your stereo system or your system in your studio. That was his concern, you know, how it's gonna sound. So he always made us go back if it wasn't right. Well, what really stuck out in my mind with Michael was every time I worked on the Michael project, I was always called at the end of the project, and I always wondered why he always called me at the end. And he told me one day, he said, you are the finisher. You finish the projects. You know, you have such an ear. When you come in, you can tell me, like he had me critiquing all of the songs, and I felt like me telling him the truth about certain songs, he would make the producers go back. I was like, I hope I'm not hated by the producers. But I was only, you know, telling him what I felt was right, you know, sound-wise and sonically, you know, how to get it strong. Even if it was a ballad, it wasn't really about having a strong drum sound, but it was about having a sound where that drum stands out, or that drum sound or the actual sound would stand out. So.
Wow.
And I don't know what was before MOTO, because they started from the beginning. And they have a great sound. I mean, I've been using MOTO stuff now over 10 years. Over 10 years.
That's great.
And finally got to tell them. Sure. And I have the MOTO 24IO with the 32, the 2408. It sounds the best of all of the interface that I've been using over the time. So I had my 24IO for about 5 years. It sounds amazing if you'll hear it. But we actually mix with it, and it's amazing. It has a punch that is unheard of. I like samplers. BPM has become that drum machine for me.
Is that digital?
Huh?
Is that digital or is that?
It's digital. It's in the box. You can get it 32 or 64. And I'm not saying that because a lot of people come and they promote something because, you know, they get it for free. No. When I promote something, I use it. BPM is amazing. And it just reminds me of the MP. Going back to the MP, you know, where you can modify your sounds and bring them out separate channels. And with BPM, you have more than you know, the typical, I guess, 10 channels from the MP. You have up to 32 channels, or as many as you want. And how I use it, I like a machine, a VST machine, that where when your sound comes out, it's just that sound. I don't like layering things, and sometimes, you know, when you go into the other VST instruments, there's a lot of layers, and you don't know if you're getting that actual sound coming out. So with the BPM, I like it to where I could just drag and drop or just touch, and my sound comes up. And now with the 1.5, which has taken me to the next level, everything is pretty much saved right there. So when I bring it back up, it's just like I left it.
That's great. So it's working really well.
It's working really well.
That's
and
fantastic.
thank MOTO for the last minute BPM 64-bit.
You're very, very welcome.
So yeah, it worked out perfect, and I got to finish a new song that I'm working for Beyonce.
Great. So are you dragging into the pads? Like, one of the cool features, of course, you have a lot of great content, but being able to drag and drop your own samples, and of course you've got amazing samples. Do you do that as well?
Oh yeah,
That's
all
great.
the time. And also, it's a VST instrument where you can bring, you know, say like a sound to come in, you can play it across the board. So it's also a VST instrument that I use as well, and just using that, it's almost like using the Mark V.
Like Mark 5.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, so you're using a BPM, and then other virtual instruments you're using? I mean, have you had a chance to use Ethno or?
I use Ethno a lot. I use it on the Michael record.
Did you?
Yes.
Great.
This song we did called Burn Tonight, and it's a salsa type of song. So I went in and found a bunch of salsa guitar strums, and it just gave me that feel, and salsa guitar, you know, percussions and all of the things I use, and it really got me through that song, because I don't know, I would have been sitting there for a while trying to find the salsa sounds. And actually, two of my engineers are in here, and they kind of see me using Ethno. I use Ethno a lot. I mean, I've been using it since it first came out. So this particular song, I'm going to tell you everything that I use for this song. The kicks, the snares, the drums, BPM. The actual track that he cut to was a track that the company, they weren't happy with it. They felt it needed more of an impact. So all I did was just kind of went back to the Dangerous album, you know, style-wise, and just put. He's always, you know, he loves the stabs. He loves things that are just accents throughout the song if he had to. But at the same time, I had to live under the circumstances, and I had to live with what I had, because if he was here, a lot of these things would be changed on the spot. He would go back in and do some other stuff, because he would hear a sound that I would come up with. He would want to go back in and just say, I want to do something to that sound with my lyrics. All I had is what you heard, you know, and there was no extra vocals. In fact, one of my friends in the back sung on that particular song. He's singing the backgrounds with Michael. And that's Mishka, everybody, he's back there. He did the vocals, and, you know, to get someone to sound, you know, close to Michael's background sounds is hard. And getting that with Mishka really saved it. And I actually, when I got the track, Mishka was already on there. So I was like, wow, this is perfect. You know, perfect. So I used a lot of, I turned and I did some sort of tweaking to Michael's background vocals to where you hear him on top. And Mishka is like like myself, with like the vocoder and the vocalist. It's the bed, and it makes it sound strong. And this is not the final mix. We just took this from the studio to bring over here so you can hear it.
So it's not mastered, obviously.
No, it's not. This is not mastered at all. This is just something I brought over just so people can hear what I use the BPM for.
Were there any extra verses, or like he'd sometimes record extra verses and things that
for that particular song, he came up with that idea. He did this, excuse me, I'm sorry. He did this actually with Michael Prince, one of his right hand, where he went into a room and he did an idea. And he never wrote the second verse. He wrote part of it. So when you hear this record, I actually I did a puzzle and I scrambled it. After the first verse, scrambled it to make a second verse. And then I put his nephew, Terrell Jackson, on the middle part, just so that it's family orientated, it's a Jackson. And I kept the continuity, going.
So were there any of the lyrics yours then, or?
Yeah, the actual bridge, the poem, everything that was written in the middle is myself and one of my writers. And that's what we did to get the song finished, so that you can hear Michael and his thoughts.